I remember the smell of my grandfather's attic, a scent of aging paper, cedar wood, and forgotten time. In the center of that dusty sanctuary, under a single, bare light bulb, sat his most prized possession, a globe from the 1930s. It wasn't a perfect, polished sphere like the ones in classrooms. It was a world of faded ochre continents and pale blue oceans, a world where entire regions were marked with little more than a name and a vast, empty space. My grandfather, Arthur, a man whose travels were mostly confined to the pages of books, would spin it slowly, his finger tracing the coastlines. "Here," he'd whisper, his voice full of reverence, "be dragons." He didn't mean literal monsters. He meant mystery. He meant the unknown, the tantalizing possibility that just beyond the edge of the known map, anything was possible. I would stare at those blank spots, and my young heart would pound with a fierce, yearning curiosity. That globe was a promise of adventure. Today, I hold a globe in the palm of my hand. It's a perfect, high-resolution image on my smartphone. I can zoom in on any point on Earth, see the streets of Kathmandu, the peak of Everest, the deepest trench of the Mariana. There are no more dragons. There are no more blank spaces. There is only data. And I find myself asking a question that would have been unthinkable to my grandfather. In a world where everything is known, where does one go to find the unknown? It began as a subtle feeling, a quiet unease that crept in during my travels. I had saved up. I had planned. I had booked the flights to chase the very adventures my grandfather had only dreamed of. Yet, I found myself walking through a world that felt increasingly familiar. I'd land in a gleaming airport in Tokyo, and the polished floors, the scent of duty-free perfume, the hushed announcements. It was the same sensory experience as landing in Frankfurt or Dubai or Chicago. The architecture of efficiency has a universal language, and it speaks in glass, steel, and muted tones. From the airport, I take a train, a marvel of modern engineering, that whisked me to the city center. And there, I would find myself in a canyon of global brands. The same coffee chain with its green logo, the same fast fashion store with its impossibly bright displays, the same golden arches promising the same predictable meal. The unique, chaotic, and sometimes bewildering soul of a place seemed to have been relegated to the side streets, a tourist attraction in itself, a historic quarter preserved like a museum piece, while the living, breathing city center became a carbon copy of every other. It was as if the entire planet had agreed upon a single, approved aesthetic, a globalized blueprint for modern life. Even the people, in these transient hubs, started to feel interchangeable. We all wore similar clothes, listened to the same globally streamed music through identical white earbuds, and stared into the same glowing rectangles in our hands. We were all tourists in a world that had become one giant, interconnected transit lounge. This feeling of repetition wasn't just in the physical spaces. It had seeped into the very nature of experience itself. The world, which my grandfather saw as a vast, untamed wilderness of discovery, had been transformed into a meticulously curated, infinitely browsable shopping mall. Every experience was now a product, packaged, reviewed, and rated for my convenience. Before I ever decided to visit the sun-drenched coast of Portugal, I had already been there. I had watched drone footage of the cliffs on YouTube, a sweeping, orchestral score telling me exactly how I should feel. I had scrolled through hundreds of perfectly filtered photos on Instagram, each one showing me the precise angle from which to capture the sunset. I had walked the cobblestone streets of the small fishing village on Google Street View, peering into windows and choosing my lunch spot weeks in advance. By the time my feet actually touched the ground, the thrill of discovery was gone. It was replaced by a sense of confirmation. I wasn't exploring, I was verifying. Ah, yes, I would think to myself, this looks just like the pictures. The trip was no longer a journey into the unknown, but a pilgrimage to a series of pre-approved photo opportunities. The raw, unpredictable, and sometimes difficult reality of travel had been smoothed over, sanitized, and sold back to me as a seamless, five-star experience. I was a consumer of landscapes, a collector of moments that had been lived a million times before me and would be lived a million times after. The greatest casualty in this age of total information is mystery. My grandfather's generation had to rely on fragmented stories, on grainy photographs in encyclopedias, on the embellished tales of sailors, and adventurers. A place like Timbuktu or Samarkand was not a destination. It was a legend, a name that conjured images of spice caravans and forgotten kingdoms. The lack of information was a powerful engine for the imagination. It created a void that could only be filled by going there, by seeing with one's own eyes, by breathing the air and tasting the food and getting hopelessly, wonderfully lost. That void was the very essence of exploration. Today, we have no such void. We have an overwhelming surplus of information. Before embarking on a journey, we arm ourselves with so much knowledge that we leave no room for surprise. We know the best time to visit to avoid the crowds, the hidden gems that are now listed in every travel blog, the exact words to say in the local language to order a coffee. We have optimized adventure out of existence. Travel has become an algorithm. You input your preferences, beach, mountains, city, culture, and the internet spits out a perfectly optimized itinerary. It is as easy and as predictable as ordering a product online. You click, you pay, and the experience is delivered to you exactly as advertised. But in this process, we have lost something vital. We have lost the chance to be truly surprised. We have lost the gift of encountering something utterly alien and unexpected. We have lost the humility that comes from realizing how little we actually know. We have traded the thrill of the unknown for the comfort of the familiar, and in doing so, we have paid a far higher price than we realize. I reached a breaking point in a place that was supposed to be the pinnacle of natural beauty. I was standing on the edge of a canyon, a geological masterpiece carved over millennia. I had seen this view countless times on screensavers and in documentaries. It was, by any objective measure, breathtaking. But I felt a profound and unsettling emptiness. I saw the other tourists around me, all holding up their phones, not looking at the canyon itself, but at the image of the canyon on their screens, ensuring it was framed just right. They were capturing the moment, but they were not living in it. And in that instant, I realized I was one of them. I had come all this way not to experience this place, but to consume it, to add it to my digital collection of visited locations. The grand mystery of nature was reduced to a background for a selfie. I looked out at the vast, silent expanse, and a question echoed in the void inside me. What is the point? If exploration is no longer about discovering the world, then what is it for? If every experience is prepackaged and every vista is previewed, what is a truly valuable experience? In a world that has lost its mystique, where do we find meaning? I felt a deep sense of loss, a grief for a world I had never known, the world of my grandfather's faded globe. I walked away from the canyon's edge that day feeling defeated. For weeks, I put my phone away. I stopped planning, stopped scrolling, stopped looking for the next great escape. I simply existed in my own city, walking its familiar streets, but this time, with a different kind of attention. I started to notice the things that can't be captured in a photograph or a blog post. The way the afternoon light filtered through the leaves of a specific tree, the intricate patterns of cracks on a familiar sidewalk, the quiet, unspoken rhythm of my own neighborhood. And slowly, a new understanding began to dawn. I had been looking for mystery in all the wrong places. I was searching for blank spots on a map that had long been filled, while ignoring the infinite, uncharted territory that lay right in front of me and inside of me. The age of geographic exploration may be over, but a new age of exploration is just beginning. The new frontiers are not on any map. They are not distant continents or undiscovered islands. They are the spaces between people, the depths of our own understanding, the courage to connect in a world that encourages us to merely scroll past one another. The new exploration is about putting down the phone and looking a stranger in the eye and asking them about their story, not with the intention of capturing it, but with the simple desire to listen. It's about getting intentionally lost in a city, not to find a landmark, but to feel the city's pulse, to let its randomness guide you, to have an unscripted, unplanned, perfectly imperfect day. It's about learning a new skill, not to add it to a resume, but for the sheer, humbling challenge of being a beginner again. It's about reading a book that challenges your deepest beliefs and sitting with the discomfort, allowing your own inner world to be remapped. The greatest mystery left is not what lies over the next mountain range, but what lies behind the eyes of the person sitting across from you on the train. The most valuable experience is not the one that gets the most likes, but the one that changes you, the one that leaves a permanent mark on your soul. the one that makes you see the world and yourself in a slightly different way. My grandfather's globe still sits in my study. I no longer see it as a relic of a lost world of adventure. I see it as a reminder. It reminds me that the world is not a product to be consumed, but a story to be participated in. It reminds me that curiosity is not just about seeing what's new, but about seeing what's familiar with new eyes. We are drowning in information, but we are starving for wisdom. We have access to the entire world, but we have forgotten how to be present in our own corner of it. So, I urge you, put down the map for a moment. Turn off the GPS, look up from the screen. The world is not smaller. Our way of looking at it has become smaller. The mystery has not vanished. It has simply moved. It has moved from the empty spaces on the parchment to the unexamined spaces in our own hearts. The dragons are still out there. They are not in the uncharted oceans, but in the fears that hold us back, in the prejudices that blind us, in the comfort zones that confine us. The greatest exploration you will ever undertake is not a journey across the globe, but the journey inward. That is a vast and mysterious territory, and its wonders are infinite. And the best part? You don't need a plane ticket to begin. You only need to be brave enough to start.